This week we're talking NBA Finals and our predictions with our special guest, NBA expert Jed. Zach, get us rolling.
Okay, so personally, I think the Heat are going to win, but bias aside, I want to know what y'all's plan is to stop AD because I think if they could stop AD, the Heat have a very good chance of taking it in seven.
Personally, I would say your best chance at not even stopping but slowing down AD is you got to double team him all game long. You can't, as good as Bam is, you can't expect Bam to just guard AD all day long and have AD not drop 25 to 30.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, the Heat usually run a zone defense, but that's going to give the Lakers shooters an ability to stretch the floor. And if Danny Green is on fire, then I don't see the Heat really being able to match up with the Lakers. But Danny Green's been inconsistent all playoffs, and Anthony Davis should be able to handle himself in the paint. But Bam's an excellent defender as well.
I personally think this is going to come down to of who's I wouldn't even say secondary unit, but whose backup stars play better. Like you said, if Danny Green can catch fire early, that'll work for them. I feel like if Duncan Robinson and Hero can average 40% from three, I feel like the Heat have a very good chance of sneaking away with a few games.
Hey, now give Hero a little respect. I wouldn't consider him a backup star. He's the third best player on that team.
Yeah.
But I agree. If Duncan Robinson can shoot lights out, that'll definitely make an interesting series. Duncan is normally very consistent, but he has been very wavy throughout the playoffs so far, at least.
And
I would
also,
say,
Chris
you,
Dunn, too, has not really gotten a lot of playoff time that really excelled in the regular season. I'd be interested to see if the Heat may want to bring him back in the rotation to throw the Lakers off guard. But the Lakers also have a young weapon in Talen Horton-Tucker, who was used in the Rockets series a little bit and showed some flashes.
I will say, y'all talked about if Danny Green can catch fire. That's great and all, but I think y'all are sleeping on it. The man who really caught fire out of the two, which is KCP.
Absolutely.
I think Danny Green,
Davis has been huge.
yeah, I think Danny's going to struggle as normal because he's just never been a playoff guy. You saw him in Toronto. He's not a playoff guy. It's going to be KCP if someone lights it up, in my opinion.
I'd have to agree. KCB's been stout on defense as well as offense all playoffs, and a lot of people slandered him all season for not living up to his contract or his expectations, but he's really come on and been a huge third piece in the rotation. If it's not Rondo, KCP's been that third guy.
And I personally think that my sleeper pick for y'all's team was Rondo because I know in the Houston series Rondo caught fire with actually scoring, which Rondo usually is more of an assist guy. Like he'll catch 2 points, shot 2 times, and 25 assists. But I was really surprised that Rondo, I think he had 25 points in game 3 or 4 against Houston. So I think and y'all said that the Lakers are expecting the zone defense from the Heat. I think they're gonna sleep on Rondo's ability to pull from deep. So I feel like if he gets open, that's just going to be an easy way to get free points, and that's my sleeper for them. I think Rondo is 100% the sleeper for the Lakers.
I mean, going with you said, I think the Heat in no way, shape, or form can sleep on anybody really on the Lakers' three-point ability because you go up and down their roster, out of the guys that get minutes, besides all the obvious ones, Dwight and, for the most part, JaVale McGee, that entire roster can pull up from three and have a very good chance of knocking it down if you let them have it.
Now, on the Heat side of things, I think, as Mr. Jordan said perfectly, I think Jimmy's going to have to take this personally. He's kind of gotten away with, not caring about the Pacers series. He showed up against the Celtics. But I think if Jimmy's locked in and, Jimmy takes it personally, I feel like, how are you going to stop Jimmy? And, yes, there is LeBron, but sometimes I feel like LeBron kind of lacks on defense. And I'm not saying he's a bad defender. I'm talking about he'll miss a call or he'll think he got fouled down and he'll wait like a good couple of seconds. And I feel like, if you have someone like Duncan or Tyler just sitting in the corner waiting for a three, that's going to cost LeBron points.
Absolutely. The Heat have to attack those opportunities when Lakers players are down, or especially LeBron. As much as I like him, he absolutely frequently argues calls and will sit back on defense, and that's a good opportunity for the Heat to push the ball in transition and get some easy fast break points.
And although that is 100% true, you definitely cannot bank off of that, especially in the finals, as LeBron has been known to almost wait all season, even through the playoffs, and wait till the finals, and then he switches on that defense and he turns on to playoff LeBron. He turns into finals LeBron, I should say, because even playoff LeBron doesn't play the greatest of defense at times, but finals LeBron will go 48 minutes, offense and defense, all around.
Yeah, that is true. Um, LeBron is absolutely a different animal in the finals than he is in the playoffs, and he's a different person as he is in the playoffs in the regular season. But yeah, LeBron has a lot to show people tonight. Whether he's still the same player he was with the Cavaliers a few years ago, but I think he still got it, and I'm expecting a big game out of him and Anthony Davis.
Now, talking big games, what's our expectation for Kuzma? Because in my opinion, Kuzma likes to talk a lot of trash, and he likes to talk a lot about LeBron and AD's skill, and you'll either get a 3-point night out of him or a 17-point night out of him. So what is the up ceiling? Well, what's the ceiling for him tonight? Like, do we expect him to have a big game, or do we expect him to just, normal Kuz talk trash and not really put out anything?
As of late, I think Kuzma's actually accepted a role of being more of a defensive player in this Lakers rotation. He's shown he's been absolutely inconsistent all playoffs long, scoring the basketball. But I think tonight, if he's given the opportunity, he'll be able to make some big shots when needed. But I'm expecting a more defensive mindset out of Kuzma tonight.
100%. The more he accepts his role, the better. I mean, we all knew it was going to be tough for him to accept his new role coming off the bench. Even I was not really expecting him to ever come off the bench, no matter how much he really struggled. But the more he accepts that role, the more, as he said, accepts to be out there for defense. And he only takes the shots that he knows he's going to make and takes high percentage shots, which has kind of been Kyle Kuzma's Achilles, you could say, is taking bad shots at the worst times. But if he can accept that bench role like what Melo did, he could be the wild card that easily makes this a Lakers in 5 series.
Now, who is the Heat's wild card? I personally think, and I'm going to say Duncan Robinson, but I think that's kind of the universally known answer. But I think Kendrick Nunn, I think if he can put off a good performance, I'd say, 10 points off the bench with a couple assists. I feel like that's going to be detrimental to the Heat to be able to take it to 7.
Yeah, out of all players, it's actually I think the Lakers are gonna key in early on Tyler Hero, but a player that's been absolutely consistent throughout, who's kind of been flown under the radar is Goran Dragic. I expect him to have a great series, great game tonight, but he really pushes the tempo on offense, and when he's going, usually all the players around him are going.
100%. That was going to be my wild card for the Heat personally, because Goran has been very good throughout the majority of the playoffs. But it's the finals. It's kind of a different mindset. It's a whole different animal mentally. It's definitely the eat or be eaten mindset that if you've never been in the finals, a lot of times you just get dragged by your neck throughout the whole series. So we will see if Goran can come in and immediately get to work and not let the big game mindset get to him.
I will say, Goran, yeah, he's not very experienced in that series, but I mean, he was averaging 20 points per game so far. Like, yeah, he's been a huge asset, and he's been in a key role for the Heat this season for getting some huge wins in the bubble. I wouldn't say on the road or at home, but he's definitely had some games where he looks like a perennial all-star.
And yeah, Christian, as you said, I think one of the biggest factors of this series is just the not only playoff experience but finals experience that players on the Lakers and the Heat have. There's a whole lot of finals experience on that Lakers, and that could be a factor in this not only the series but Game One tonight. Will the Heat be able to step up to the challenge? They've shown it all playoffs they can, but the finals is a completely different series.
And I will say this is actually for the Heat a best case scenario for a Game One, because it's Lakers home, but it's the bubble. They don't know. They're not going to know what it's like to walk out Game One in Los Angeles in a packed Staples Center full of screaming fans, especially since this is supposed to be the run for Kobe. They're not going to have no idea. It won't even feel like a finals game, which is good for them. That's an advantage the Lakers wish they had, that they were like in a real stadium with packed full of fans. That would be beneficial for them.
I
And
think
then,
the no fans goes both ways because it's almost like football how the quarterbacks were like, now I don't have to cover my ears to listen for the play call. Like, yeah, LeBron is someone who feeds off of attention from fans, while someone like a Tyler Hero is comfortable shooting with no fans in the gym. So I feel like it goes both ways. I feel like there's LeBron will be more focused, and he won't be just trying to impress the crowd. And I feel like someone like a Hero or Duncan Robinson who aren't used to hearing like a bunch of fans in his ear, I feel like they're going to even have a better game. So
yeah, and the Lakers have shown in their past Game One, in their Game One series, it's kind of usually a feeling out game. But I think this Game One, they're going to have a completely different mindset. Come out aggressive. If the Lakers have a strong first half, they're almost guaranteed to close it out in the second. But if they let the Heat get going and it's a shootout, don't count out the Heat in the fourth quarter.
I will say I will highlight how I said earlier the Lakers have an all-around solid three-point shooting team. Same things what they do with the Rockets. That does not mean you want to have a shootout with the Heat, just like with the Rockets. The Lakers they didn't want to shoot out. They didn't want to see if they could outshoot James Harden and the folks down in Houston. And they're not going to do the same thing with Miami because Miami will outshoot the Lakers. You want them, especially their three-point specialists. You want people like Duncan Robinson having to try to hit some mid-range hard shots.
Yeah.
You want to try to force their three-point specialists into hard shooting situations.
Yeah, if they can close out Tyler Hero early, um, I think that's their biggest X factor. Tyler Hero's shown all playoffs. He's there to make the big shots. He's been clutch, and if the Lakers can eliminate him from their rotation, then yeah, the Lakers have all odds in their favor.
I think 100% like going back to the Houston comparison because obviously when you think Houston you think 3-point shooting. But I think the difference between Houston's 3-point shooting and the Heat is Houston is very inconsistent when it comes to hitting big shots, while the Heat, I think, as a team, they're shooting very well from three. So, yeah, I feel like if you get lazy and let them shoot at will, like, I was watching the Lakers-Houston series, and there were some times where they just wouldn't even go up and guard anybody shooting a three and they'd miss. I feel like you can't do that against people like Hero and Robinson, and even Jimmy Butler has kind of a clutch opportunity when shooting from deep. So yeah, I wouldn't give them too much space. I agree with Christian. I'd press them at the perimeter, and I'd give up kind of my defense and go back to zone when they're inside. Because yeah, if you make someone like a Hero or Kendrick Nunn or Duncan Robinson, who doesn't really focus on scoring at the rim, if you make them get out of their comfort zone, it's going to be a lot of passing, which is going to lead to a bad shot because of the timer.
And I agree. That is definitely a best case scenario because if you're the Lakers, from the 1 through the 4, you have at least average to above average wing defenders. So as you say, you press them at the perimeter, don't let them shoot threes. They try to screen, take tough threes, or screen drive in. You either have Dwight Howard or you have JaVale McGee down there, which are some of for your average everyday role players, they are some of the premier shot blockers in the league.
Absolutely. And also a player to bring up is Alex Caruso. Um, the Lakers, I mean, he's been consistent as well. He's not generally known to be a scorer or anything, but he does everything right in the box score. plus minus is always really high, and he just gets everyone involved in the offense when he's on the court with LeBron, and even when LeBron's off the court. He and Rajon Rondo have shown that they're great facilitators for the Lakers, and yeah, if he has a big game, then yeah, Lakers are taking it.
I agree. To a smaller sample size of Kuzma, you could say Caruso is that second X factor because it seems like whenever he makes a big play, it hypes up the entire Lakers squad more than anybody else making a big shot or big play. You see Caruso get a nice dunk, hit a good shot. They're more hyped than LeBron tossing lobs to AD all day. That the Lakers squad loves seeing Caruso get going, and when he gets going, that entire unit gets going.
So my final point of emphasis to close this out is, and Jed mentioned that the first game is usually a field game, but that could change because it's finals. What's the score prediction for tonight? We'll start with Jed, and then come back to me.
I've got a close one in game one, but Lakers are going to close it out by making some free throws down the stretch. I've got Lakers 107, Miami 98.
All right, Christian.
I think the Lakers are going to come out aggressive. I think they should win this game. The Heat will put up a good fight, but at the end, I'm thinking Lakers 119, Heat 112.
I'm going to stick towards the 110 range with I personally think that, as Jed said, this is going to be a feeler game. So I feel like the Heat are going to come out on top on this one, and I'm going to take them 107-104.
Wow. This is going to be an exciting series.
There we go. But as we saw how the Lakers have all year, I personally would not stress as a Lakers fan if the Heat come out and win game one. The Lakers have proven that they are perfectly fine with going down 1-0. It does not bother them, even in the slightest.
No doubt.
All right. Well, that's all the time we got for today. Jed, thanks for coming on and talking.
Thank you for having me.
And I guess we'll see you at game 2.